Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a poignant journey through the tumultuous landscape of the Partition of India, a pivotal event that reshaped the destiny of millions. As we navigate this complex and multifaceted topic, let us begin by setting the stage for the earliest stirrings of this seismic shift. In the sweltering summer of 1947, the Indian subcontinent was abuzz with anticipation and trepidation. The British Raj, that venerable institution of colonial rule, was on the cusp of relinquishing its grasp on the region. As the clock ticked down to independence, the seeds of discord had already been sown, germinating in the fertile soil of communal tensions and nationalist aspirations. To comprehend the precursors of the partition, we must journey back to the early 20th century, when the Indian National Congress, led by the indomitable Mahatma Gandhi, began to challenge British rule. In 1905, the Bengal presidency was partitioned by Lord Curzon, the Viceroy of India, in a move that was widely seen as an attempt to divide and rule. This event sparked widespread protests and marked the beginning of a long and complex process that would eventually lead to the division of India. As we delve deeper into the historical context, we find ourselves in the midst of a vibrant and tumultuous city, Calcutta, the capital of British India. In 1911, the Indian National Congress held its annual session in Calcutta, where the reunification of Bengal was announced, and the partition of 1905 was effectively reversed. However, this fleeting moment of cooperation between Hindus and Muslims would eventually give way to increased tensions as the two communities began to diverge on key issues. The year 1916 marked a significant milestone as the Lucknow Pact was signed between the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. The pact, which aimed to promote Hindu-Muslim unity, allocated seats to Muslims in the legislatures, recognizing their minority status. This agreement was negotiated by prominent leaders such as Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who would later play important roles in shaping the course of Indian history. As we explore the historical context further, we find that the 1920s and 1930s saw a rise in communal violence, as the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League struggled to find common ground. The 1930 Round Table Conference, held in London, failed to produce a consensus, as the Muslim League demanded separate electorates for Muslims, while the Indian National Congress pushed for a unified electorate. This impasse would ultimately contribute to the growing sense of mistrust and hostility between Hindus and Muslims. The city of Lahore, with its rich cultural heritage and vibrant intellectual scene, played a significant role in shaping the course of events. In 1930, the All India Muslim League passed a resolution calling for a separate homeland for Muslims, which would eventually become the cornerstone of the Pakistan movement. This resolution was moved by Muhammad Iqbal, a renowned poet and philosopher, who would later be celebrated as one of the founding fathers of Pakistan. As we continue to explore the earliest history of the Partition of India, we find that the year 1946 marked a turning point, with brutal communal riots erupting in Calcutta. The violence and bloodshed foreshadowed the cataclysmic events that would soon unfold, as the very fabric of Indian society began to unravel. And so, dear listeners, we have set the stage for the earliest history of the Partition of India, a tale of complex loyalties, competing nationalisms, and the frailties of human nature. Join me as we venture into the crucible of history, where the very foundations of Indian society were reshaped, and the consequences of which continue to reverberate to this day. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we're navigating the tumultuous landscape of the Partition of India. The year 1947 was a watershed moment in Indian history, as the British Raj relinquished its grasp on the region. The Indian National Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru, and the Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, had been engaged in a protracted struggle for power and representation. The seeds of discord, sown in the early 20th century, had germinated, and the communal tensions between Hindu and Muslims had reached a boiling point. On June 3, 1947, the British government announced its plan to partition India, with Lord Louis Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India, playing a crucial role in the negotiations. The Radcliffe Line, named after Cyril Radcliffe, was drawn to demarcate the borders between India and Pakistan. This arbitrary line would become a source of contention, as millions of people found themselves on the wrong side of the border. The mass migration that followed was one of the most significant in human history, with estimates suggesting that over 14 million people crossed the newly drawn borders. The cities of Lahore, Amritsar, and Calcutta became hubs for refugees, as people fled their homes to escape violence and persecution. The trains, once symbols of progress and modernity, now carried the dead and the dying, as communal riots and massacres erupted along the railway lines. The partition of India was not just a geographical division, it was also a cultural and emotional schism. The trauma of displacement, the loss of livelihoods, and the separation from loved ones would leave an indelible mark on the collective psyche of the Indian subcontinent. The stories of partition survivors, though varied and complex, share a common thread: the pain of leaving behind a homeland, a culture, and a way of life. As we explore this period, we find that the cities of India and Pakistan became laboratories for nation building. The Indian National Congress, now in power, sought to create a secular and democratic state, while the Muslim League aimed to establish an Islamic republic. The Constituent Assembly of India, led by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, drafted a constitution that would enshrine the principles of equality, justice, and liberty. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, now the Quaid-e-Azam, worked tirelessly to establish a new nation-state. The city of Karachi, with its vibrant ports and bustling streets, became the epicenter of Pakistani politics and commerce. However, the challenges faced by the new nation were formidable. From building a functional government to providing for the basic needs of its citizens. The international community played a significant role in shaping the course of events during this period. The United States, under President Harry Truman, provided economic aid to both India and Pakistan, while the Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin, offered diplomatic support to the Indian National Congress. The newly formed United Nations, with its commitment to promoting peace and security, played a crucial role in mediating border disputes and providing humanitarian assistance. As we reflect on this period, we're reminded that the partition of India was not just a historical event. It's a living, breathing entity that continues to shape the lives of people in the Indian subcontinent. The legacies of partition, from the Kashmir conflict to the communal tensions in modern-day India, serve as a reminder of the complexities and challenges that arise when nations are built on the foundations of violence and displacement. And so, dear listeners, we've delved into the heart of this maelstrom, exploring the pivotal moments that shape the destiny of a nation. As we transition to our next segment, we'll examine the long-term consequences of the partition of India, from the rise of nationalist movements to the ongoing struggles for justice and reconciliation. Join me as we venture further into the crucible of history, where the very foundations of Indian society were reshaped, and the consequences of which continue to reverberate to this day. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we're navigating the tumultuous landscape of the partition of India. The years following partition were marked by significant challenges for both India and Pakistan. The massive influx of refugees, estimated to be over 14 million, put a strain on the resources of both nations. The Indian government, led by Jawaharlal Nehru, implemented a series of policies aimed at rehabilitating and resettling refugees, including the establishment of refugee camps and the provision of financial assistance. However, many refugees struggled to rebuild their lives, and the trauma of displacement would take years to heal. In Pakistan, the government faced significant challenges in building a functional state. The country's economy was largely agrarian, and the lack of infrastructure and industry made it difficult to provide for the basic needs of its citizens. Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Quaid-e-Azam, worked tirelessly to establish a new nation-state, but his death in 1948 left a power vacuum that would be filled by a series of military dictatorships. The Kashmir conflict, which began in 1947, would become one of the most enduring legacies of partition. The princely state of Kashmir, ruled by Hari Singh, was claimed by both India and Pakistan, leading to a series of wars and skirmishes that continue to this day. The conflict has resulted in significant human suffering, with estimates suggesting that over 70,000 people have been killed since 1989. In India, the rise of nationalist movements would become a major challenge for the government. The Hindu nationalist movement, led by organizations such as the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, would gain significant traction in the decades following partition. This movement, which emphasized the importance of Hindu culture and identity, would often be at odds with the secular principles enshrined in the Indian constitution. The ongoing struggles for justice and reconciliation in India and Pakistan are a testament to the enduring legacies of partition. In recent years, there have been efforts to provide compensation and recognition to partition survivors, as well as to promote greater understanding and dialogue between Indians and Pakistanis. However, much work remains to be done, and the wounds of partition continue to heal slowly. As we reflect on this period, we're reminded that the Partition of India was not just a historical event. It's a living, breathing entity that continues to shape the lives of people in the Indian subcontinent. The legacies of partition, from the Kashmir conflict to the communal tensions in modern-day India, serve as a reminder of the complexities and challenges that arise when nations are built on the foundations of violence and displacement. In the words of Jawaharlal Nehru, the Partition of India was a tragedy, a catastrophe, a blow to the very concept of Indian unity. As we look to the future, it's essential that we learn from the past and work towards building a more just and equitable society for all. The story of partition is a complex and multifaceted one, full of triumph and tragedy, hope and despair. It's a reminder that the consequences of our actions can be far-reaching and devastating, but also that the human spirit can persevere even in the face of adversity. And so, dear listeners, we've explored the long-term consequences of the Partition of India, from the rise of nationalist movements to the ongoing struggles for justice and reconciliation. As we conclude this series, we hope that you've gained a deeper understanding of this pivotal moment in history and its enduring impact on the Indian subcontinent. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the crucible of history, where the very foundations of Indian society were reshaped, and the consequences of which continue to reverberate to this day. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.